Welcome to Split Second Broadcasting's coverage of the season finale of the 2025 season for the TCR Nittany Nationals. We close things out here at the half-mile clay speedway known as Port Royal here in Port Royal, Pennsylvania. The championship has already been decided, but that just means there's a lot more on the line as drivers will look to capture that final checkered flag. I'm Seth Cole. I'm alongside of Ross Brockman. And Ross, coming into tonight, we already know Matt Grimm's got the championship locked up. Everybody's trying to get that last checkered flag, but he's looking for a bookend season as well. He won the first two races of the season. He won the last race, so he's looking to close it out with two victories at the beginning and at the end. A lot of hungry drivers going to have to go through, though.
Yeah, you talk about Matt Grimm and a defending winner of this race as well. So definitely probably the favorite, but I like you say, it's kind of bragging rights tonight with the championship no longer on the line. It comes down to a trophy and a little bit of money. So it'll be fun to see these drivers battle it out to see who can take home the final checkered flag of the season.
As you alluded to, a payout on the line, $100 goes to the winner here this evening, and it really hasn't been an absolute runaway for Matt Grimm either. Granted, he's gotten the most wins in the season at 3, but the previous 7 races, we've had 5 different drivers go to victory lane. So there has definitely been the competition, but the consistency has definitely been on the side of Matt Grimm. He's actually the defending champion from the 2024 season as well. So he's going to be closing out as a back-to-back champion in this series. They're running the 410 sprint cars here in this series, and for people that aren't aware of what these cars can do, these cars can fly. This may be a short track, it's only a half mile, but it's not going to take much for these drivers to turn a lap here, as we're going to see single car qualifying. That'll determine the heats that they will be in, and that will ultimately determine the main event starting lineup. On the flip side though, Ross, while these cars, they can fly and lay down lap times, doesn't take much contact for them to go into pretty wild wreck as well.
Yeah, it's somewhat for a dirt track. A lot of dirt tracks, you probably are hoping for more of a wider, straightaway and even corners. This one's a little narrow, so I think that's very interesting. You talk about obviously survival is somewhat part of some dirt racing because there's no way you can have contact. I think that these tighter straightaways you kind of have to. I saw a couple in practice, kind of even just minding their P's and Q's around other drivers to kind of let them go, just to make sure that they were somewhat single file on these narrow straightaways. So yeah, I think you'll still see a little bit of rubbing here and there. We'll see, but I ultimately looking forward to see how these drivers with not as much on the line as far as points, maybe hang it out a little bit farther to go grab a win.
Gotta admit, Port Royal Speedway was not a track I was familiar with. I had to do a quick Google search of it before we came on the air. This track's been around since 1938, but as you can clearly see, it has not implemented safer barriers, so there's concrete walls, there's Armco barriers waiting for these drivers if they overstep that cushion just the least little bit. As we now head into our qualifying session, it will be single car qualifying here for these drivers. It'll ultimately determine which heat they will be in. We've been told that it sounds like we're going to have 2 heats here this evening. That will ultimately set the starting lineup as we've got our first driver rolling out onto the racetrack. And you see it's the number 81 of Matt Vitafer. Matt coming into this finale 7th in the overall points. 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s in the 5 starts that he's made so far this season.
It'll be interesting to see how qualifying goes. I was kind of watching in practice as these drivers set up, their lines and try to figure out what's the best, fastest way. It was a short practice, so many of them were down even as close to the, inside lane, down by that wall on the inside lane when they were running their fastest laps. Just under 15 seconds was what we were seeing in practice. So it'll be interesting to see if the drivers are able to back that up.
Vitafer completes his run. Saw him run the middle groove for most of that, just kind of underneath where the dark gray is there. It looks like he may actually have... Okay, he's coming to pit road now. I thought maybe he was may have made a mess up there and was going to run another lap. But he will clock in at... Oh, we'll find out in a few moments here what
Yeah,
the lap time was here.
a 15:01. So, like I was saying, that 14.9 I think is what many of them were hitting in practice, or at least the top guys. So, I think if you're in that 15.0, or if you're able to break that 14.9, that's going to be pretty solid.
And Vitafer had the daunting task of being the first driver out there as well. Everybody else gets an opportunity to kind of, take a little bit of a look-see of what his car was doing, be able to kind of strategize accordingly. Is that a line that they want to run? Do they want to try to do something different? Now, granted, other drivers, they've already got a strategy in mind of where they want to run, and probably nothing's going to dissuade them from that. But, when you're that first driver out there and you're setting the tone for everybody else, that could be a daunting task.
Yeah, and a track that carries over from practice. So we had obviously many of the drivers out there during practice. So that's part of this dirt racing to see what the track does, how it changes. It looks like Zach Smith just completed his lap, a 15.18, which is slotting him right behind Vetifer there in second.
Zach Smith, sixth in overall points, 2 top 5, 6 top 10s so far this season, one position behind the next driver on track. That's fifth in the standings, Trent Curtis, who is one of the 4 previous winners on the season. Trent took the checkered flag back late January at Limaland Motorsports Park.
And a top 3 guy in our practice session. He's running a little bit higher, almost like go to the lower lane on the exit to kind of pull that thing down the straightaway.
Almost a diamond approach there. Enter low, swing it wide, exit low. That's going to put him just about 700ths short of Vitafer's lap time. Slots him into second of the 3 that have taken time so far. And while this is by no means a super speedway, a lot of times when you end up having street stocks, the 410 sprints, those type of cars at a dirt track, a lot of times it can come down to hundreds and thousandths of a second, much like it is in qualifying at super speedways.
Yeah, and especially when you start thinking, okay, a 14.9, well, that's 14 seconds. It's a very fast lap. A 35 lap main event later tonight. That goes pretty quick if you stay green. So it is fast laps around these half-mile short track dirt tracks.
Looking at fourth in the standings, Brandon Welker, former pole sitter on the season, the driver out of Fremont, Ohio. We're just going up, it seems, going up the standings. Started at 7th, went to 6th, went to 5th, and now to 4th. So, I don't know, do we end up seeing 3rd in the standings going out next? We'll have to wait and see here, but right now, great run for the driver of the 22. Top of the board there on just the first lap, and looking for a little more here on lap 2. Oh, looks like he just decided to call it. Fastest so far for Brad Weicker. And that will send out, indeed, 3rd in the standings. That's Lachlan Phillips, another former winner on the season, along with 3 top 5s and 6 top 10s. Lachlan Phillips taking the checkered flag back at Lernerville Speedway. And look how high he's running there, right up in that softer dirt, that softer clay.
Yeah,
Ripping the top. My gosh.
We've seen a few of these drivers, on their warm-up run the top. But Phillips here, he's running the top on both the warm-up and his flyer lap. So it'd be interesting to see where he's at now. Now back down to the bottom on lap 2.
Locked in almost around the same lap time as Smith. About 2,700ths off the top spot. Let's see here if he improves. Looks like no improvement for the 17. So he tried something there. Tried seeing if that outside line would work. Get that car wound up for the money lap. But Phillips right now going to be 5th of the 5 drivers that have taken time. That's going to send out. We'll call him the champ because he's got it locked up. Comes into this one already 170 points ahead of his nearest competitor. He had the championship actually racked up last week. So he will be a 2-time back-to-back champion in the series, and looking as well to be a back-to-back winner to close out the season. After winning last week at Weedsport, he also won the first 2 races of the season at Knoxville and Lucas Oil.
Yeah, be the perfect, as you mentioned before, a perfect bookend to this season. We'll see how he does in Q here. Another guy that's running the top lane on the warm-up.
2 poles on the season as well to go along with his 3 wins. As right now 3rd, just a 100th off of Vitafer for 2nd. It looks like he will not opt to take the 2nd lap here, so he will clock in 3rd place for the time being. Next driver on the track is going to be the number 38, Vince Guerreri, out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I guess we could kind of consider this a home track for him, a Pennsylvania short track. I don't know what the distance is necessarily from Port Royal, PA to Pittsburgh, but a little home crowd here for this driver. That could be a little bit of added motivation as well when you go to a racetrack that's in your home state.
Well, and typically that's a track maybe you're more familiar with, one that you've maybe hosted sessions with the buddies, or it's on the officials. You might jump in and just because it's a track you're familiar with. So yeah, we'll see how he does tonight.
Vince Guerreri has made 4 starts so far this season, finishing in the top 10 in all of them. In 3 of those races, he's finished in the top 5. Good lap time, almost was able to snipe Weicker for the top position. Comes up just 500 short. Good lap.
Yeah, and we talked about practice, the 14.9s. We just have the 2 so far in qualifying that have hit the 14.9 mark. So maybe the track just obviously it's not that much different than practice, but obviously going to change a little bit as we go here.
4 drivers yet to qualify. 14 of Seth Gregory will head out onto the racetrack here. Gregory's made 4 previous starts so far this season. 3 of those finishes inside the top 10, 1 top 5. He's 10th in overall points coming into tonight's finale. Another driver's going to try and rip the top here on the warm-up lap. Another Pennsylvania driver as well. I don't know necessarily how they pronounce it down in Pennsylvania. Up here in New York, we don't know whether to call it Ephrata or Ephrata. Ooh, almost had his right rear touch that Armco barrier there. He's going to be 3rd fastest, though. Look at that, 800ths. Actually, only a 10th separating the top 4 there, so very close.
Yeah, we talked about that 14.9 Seth Gregory there with a 15.001, so close to getting that 14.9 bracket there, but yeah, gonna come up just a little short.
J.D. Myers in the 021, another Pennsylvania native out of Thomasville. Gonna head out onto the racetrack there, the driver out of Kamikaze Motorsports. I believe he is making his debut here this season in the finales. So, with that being said, maybe a bit of a wild card here, where other drivers may not necessarily know what he's going to bring to the table. Let's see if he sets any type of statement here in qualifying.
It's like 3rd fastest. That's you got to take that.
Only 800ths off, just maybe a 1,000th or 2 faster than Gregory. And next out goes Brock Elliott in the 00 machine. Brock going to be making, I believe as well, his first start of the season. Different drivers have had different approaches here on the warm-up lap. Some of them have even just gone with just the 1 lap, and some others have gone with 2 laps. But they've approached the middle, they've approached the inside. We've seen some rip the top. you got to wonder too. No, maybe they're not necessarily all that worried about where they start in the race, but kind of feeling out what the possibilities are of those respective grooves, because we're going to be seeing when we end up getting to the heat races, when we get to the main event, in order to be able to make progress, you're going to have to run the line the guy in front of you is not running. So you may have to be a little outside your comfort zone of your positioning heading into the corner, and these drivers might be trying to get themselves a little bit more familiar with those opposite grooves here even as early in a qualifying session.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's the fastest lap in qualifying might be a totally different lane than the one that's going to hold your position in a race, or even, like you say, advance your position, just because you got to go where they're not. So yeah, qualifying's another opportunity. If you go through that first lap, you go through the second lap, you're like, okay, well, how's the track any different than the last time I was out here, and maybe that will add to what I do in the race.
Our last qualifier going to be Blake Giglio, low drag esports driver to Rochester, New York. Another driver making his first start of the season here in the finales. We have a trifecta of drivers that'll be making their debuts here in the final race of the season. And he's going to clock in 5th. Look at that. 3rd, 4th, 5th. It came down to thousands because they all here on our timer, on our scoring pylon, clocked in at 800ths short of the pole run laid down by the 22 of Brandon Weicker.
And of course even being that close, it's an amazing situation when you think about it, because now you get thrown into your heat races. That could be a totally different heat based on where you're at in those breakdowns, and then also potentially multiple positions depending on where you finish in the heat.
We're gonna get a hold of our pole sitter here, Brandon Weicker. Brandon's the guy's up here in the split second broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yep, I got you.
Man, I'll tell you what, that machine looks pretty fast there. That 22, top of the board here. Can you hold on? Can you get this thing in victory lane? Does that speed transfer all the way through tonight?
We're going to have to see. I got in late. I didn't get any chance to practice. So kind of just went out there, just threw it in, and got kind of lucky, honestly.
We were talking about the fact this being the finale, the championship is already wrapped up. Open opportunity for a driver to be able to get that final checkered flag of the season. That give you any type of added motivation here this evening?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've been racing Matt pretty much all year long. We've had some good races and stuff, and I just haven't been able to find my way around him. So hopefully tonight's the night.
Well, Brandon, congratulations capturing that pole position here in single car qualifying. Best of luck in your heat, and hopefully we see you be able to go coast to coast, pole to win here this evening at Port Royal.
Yep, thank you.
So Brandon Weicker, the fastest here so far tonight at Port Royal Speedway. These drivers are moments away from being sorted into their respective heats. 2 heat races here this evening, 10 laps each. 35-lap main event later on tonight. The heats will determine the starting lineup.
And this first heat will be really interesting. You heard Weicker mention there, racing with our champ Matt Grimm. They're going to be in the same heat. Grimm, qualified 7th, so putting him in that first heat, starting 4th here. So a little bit of work to do for our champion if he wants to go back to back, as you mentioned here, with that qualifying run.
Yeah, gonna have to potentially pass a lot of cars. He can improve his starting position in the upcoming heat. There are going to be 6 drivers in Heat 1, 5 drivers in Heat 2, and as mentioned, they will be 10 laps each. It's going to be interesting to kind of see if what we see in the heat races transfers over to the main event as well. How aggressive do we see these drivers get in the heat races? We definitely think the Wick's probably going to get turned up in the main event, as stated. Everybody wants to get that final checkered flag of the season, but I almost wonder if in these heat races, do we see more of a kind of going to school, learning the racetrack? As we heard right there from Weicker, he got no practice. And I think there were only about maybe 3 or 4 drivers that actually saw out there in practice turning some lap times and practicing some qualifying runs. So, maybe a good 50-60% of the field, that lap times that we saw them turn just moments ago was the first time that their wheels have touched this racetrack so far this evening.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect mini practice session for many of these drivers. But like you say, yeah, heat races are a very unique opportunity to go grab some positions. Obviously that every position you gain in your heat race puts you up another row in the feature. So it's a great opportunity for some of these drivers that maybe had a bad qualifying effort to be able to go get some positions, to get some track position for the feature, which is going to be super important at this track.
So Brandon Weicher is going to be on the front row in this first heat race alongside of the 021 of J.D. Myers. Looks like the 16 of Blake Giglio is going to make up row number 2. He'll be alongside of the soon-to-be champion Matt Grimm in the 91. That's going to be the 00 of Brock Elliott. He's going to make up the third and final row with the 17 of Lachlan Phillips. 10 laps here in heat race number 1. Flagman's got the green flag in hand here. Pace truck's going to make the left-hand turn onto pit road in just a moment. He'll get ready to turn them loose. Mentioned also about the fact that the championship is decided, but we still got some positions to determine in the point standings as well. Very close from second down through fourth, only 15-point separation. Gavin Chatham, second in the standings, is not here tonight, so Lachlan and pole sitter Weicher could move up into the podium in the standings to close out the season.
Yeah, and you know that those drivers are thinking about that opportunity to at least move up a couple spots. Obviously you've watched it all season and wondering where your ranking is at the end of the year. It's a chance here to move up and gain another spot or two.
Green flags out. Here we go. Ooh, little bit of a slide there from Grimm. He's going to stack them up 3 wide for third. Contact made as Weicher's going to run away with the lead. Battles on for second. Battles on for fourth.
Yeah, we thought it was going to maybe be a little bit of calm, kind of a learning opportunity, but they all jumped at it right away, trying to gain the track position. It's calmed down a little bit now, but yeah, that first start, going after it.
Yeah, Lachlan Phillips, a couple of dives there on Grimm for the fourth position, but has to tuck in line. Grimm currently holds the spot. Now he sets his sight on Myers for third. Meanwhile, comfortably in second is going to be Giglio, and out in front by about a good 3 car lengths right now is the pole sitter Weicher.
And pretty consistent lap times so far from everybody, kind of running the same. Very similar lines too. I guess second, Giglio moving up to more the top, while the Weicher's down on the bottom, leading this race.
Dirt track racing, very much the same like stock cars at a short track. You're not going to gain seconds on the driver in front of you. You're lucky if you gain hundreds or even just every lap thousandths of a second to be able to close up the gap and set up for a pass. As you see, as you alluded to there, Ross, you got that 16 running a little bit higher through the corners, trying to get that exit. And look at that, Weicher noticed it, so he moves up as well to cover that lane.
He's definitely closed up on him in the last couple laps here, so putting some pressure on. And then we talked about Matt Grimm trying to gain some positions after kind of an average qualifying run here. He's struggled to do so, still running in fourth, but battling now on the inside for third.
You talked about it too at the beginning of the night, just how narrow this racetrack is. You saw right there that battle for third place. J.D. Myers had to really work the wheel to make sure he didn't hit the wall coming off of turn 4 when Grimm was to his inside. And speaking of to the inside, here comes the 16 slide jobbing his way to the top spot. Weicher looks for the crossover. I don't know if he's quite going to be there to clear. No, he's not. Great move there. 16 going to go out in front. Giglio to the lead.
And it's one of those make the pass, but you have to fight him off a little bit for a little while there, and the 16 was able to do it and making the top really work now, and pulling away.
Grimm for a brief moment had third. Myers battled back. Ooh, contact made there going into the corner, and Myers is up and into the wall. Believe that believe he is still going there, but that was for the close of that heat as they were battling for I believe that was the 4th position. But the heat winner gonna be the 16 of Blake Giglio. And he made that pass very handily there and was able to hold off the counter charge by Brandon Weicker. I believe that we have the heat winner available for an interview. If we can get a hold of Blake there. Blake, the guys up here in the Split Second Broadcasting booth. You got us?
How's it going?
I'll tell you what, you gave us quite a precursor of what we can expect in the main event. You set him up, you ran him down, you completed the pass. Very methodical on your part. How were you able to do it?
Yeah, I think the no mirror definitely helped me out there. I was able to, move up a groove faster than he was, and I knew that I'd never really raced without a mirror before, so I just kind of started throwing it in there, and I think we had great racing there, and I think the feature's going to be pretty similar.
You talked about moving up a groove. We saw you go up there a little outside of the cushion into that fresh dirt, that fresh clay. Do you think that's going to be a key early on in the main event as well that you'll try and adapt?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same way early. Once it slicks off, I do think that you'll get some of that more just hit the top as much as you can. So that was a good heat race. I'm glad to get the win and I should be starting what, pole now? Yeah, pole and feature.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on a job well done there. Indeed, you'll be leading us to the green in the main event. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you hold on to that race lead just as handily as you were able to get it in that heat race. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
That's Blake Giglio. He's the winner of heat race number 1. We now set up for heat race number 2. Pole sitter for this one's going to be the number 38 of Vince Guerreri. He's going to be alongside the 14 of Seth Gregory. Row 2 going to be on the inside, the 81 of Matt Vitafer, and to his outside, the 151 of Trent Curtis, and bringing up the back of the field as we're under green is Brock Elliott in the 00.
A little calmer start in this heat than we saw in the previous heat, but still an opportunity for some of these drivers to gain some track position for the feature.
Curtis trying to make something happen down there on the bottom as for the lead potentially. Nice arc there off the corner for Seth Gregory. Closed up the gap, and look at the two different lines your top two are running here. Gregory, man, he's really able to diamond it through the center, but then he loses it off the corner exit. Let's see what he does this time. Runs it right up there almost to the Armco barrier, and now dives it into 3 and 4.
They're going to slide up here, and we saw the crossover kind of back and forth in that first heat. I think you're going to see a lot of that tonight when you have to almost slow down so much in the corner to complete that pass. It gives that other driver an opportunity to just slide right back by you.
Great battle between Gregory and Guerreri for the lead. Battle for third going on there as well between Vitafer and Curtis. Again, a lot of these drivers may have been down outside the top 5 in the speed charts in single car qualifying. They can put themselves up on the first 2 rows if they can finish inside of the top 2 here in this heat race. As the battle continues on here, Gregory again with the slide job, and he may have actually, we got a car up and over. Well, actually, I think he landed back on his wheels, but he hit the wall. Took a little bit of a wheelie there, but he's able to keep it going. Great save there by Smith.
Yeah, and a lot of these back and forth still for the lead here. It's interesting to see how these drivers are able to slide across and then, you just go right back to the inside, the driver that gets slid across. It's fascinating to watch.
They've been doing this for 7 laps. Can they do it for 3 more? Whoa, really close on entry there. The 38 looks to the inside. May have had to check up a little bit there on that entry, and that's going to actually help out Seth Gregory to open up some daylight. About 3 car lengths now down the back straightaway. That battle for third continues on, though, as Curtis still on the hunt of the 81.
And these drivers had that opportunity to watch that first heat, so they both kind of maybe saw what worked, saw what didn't, as Curtis is going to complete the pass for third.
White flag in the air and off of turn number 4. Picking up heat win number 2 is going to be Seth Gregory. Crossing the line in second will be Guerreri, and it looks like Trent Curtis was able to hang on for the third position. So subsequently, Gregory is going to share the front row with our Heat 1 winner, Blake Giglio. Now, Ross, I said it was going to maybe be a precursor of what to expect. That was with just 5 and 6 cars, respectively, on the racetrack. Now we put all 11 out there for 35 laps.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we saw. It both our second place runners as far as starting in those heat races were able to get to the lead, but it took them the whole 10 laps. So I think that's something that's going to be very interesting. It takes you multiple laps to set somebody up to get close enough to make a move, and then once you pass them, you're running so close together, you almost have to play defense for a couple laps to then ultimately complete the pass and be clear of them for more than a lap. So I think some of these drivers mid-pack with 35 laps, they're happy that they have a long race here to have a chance to get up to the front and work traffic. I think that's the other side of dirt racing too. These shorter races to begin with, but the long feature, it's a very different type of race. It's a lot more about survival and finding the lanes, and looking forward to see how each of these drivers do that in the main event.
I had the privilege of being a spectator of a 410 sprint race on my home track of Fonda Speedway a couple of years ago, and you're about to see a typical sprint car tradition as these drivers will be stacking up in a 4-wide salute pace lap, a tribute to the fans here at Port Royal Speedway. Pretty cool that they end up doing this before they end up going to green flag racing. You see them preparing to line up. And it's interesting, kind of going back to a couple of the points you were referring to that we saw in those heat races. Two things that kind of stood out to me in what you were talking about, like the keys of those drivers getting to the front, and that was being methodic and being patient. I'm not necessarily certain if that's something that these drivers are going to be thinking about when you tell them, hey, you've only got 35 laps to work with, literally a sprint race to work with here to get to the front, especially those drivers that are going to be starting back outside of the top 5.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun to see. A lot of these drivers obviously race against each other for multiple weeks now, and you maybe know what a driver's going to do, or maybe you don't. We had a couple new drivers we talked about in qualifying too, so it's interesting to see how some of them maybe know what type of moves they're going to make, what lines they prefer, when they like to go to the top, when they like to run the bottom. It'll be interesting to see if some of these drivers have picked out what their competitors are going to do.
If you're just joining us here on Split Second Broadcasting, we're bringing you coverage of the season finale for the 2025 season for the TCR Nittany Nationals at Port Royal Speedway. We've already run our preliminary qualifiers. Our single car qualifying went to the 22 of Brandon Weicker. Heat race number 1 went to the 16 of Blake Giglio, and heat race number 2 went to... I just lost who it was.
Now you're making me. Seth Gregory.
There it was. Yeah. I had it, and then it was gone.
It changed. The leader changed every lap, so easy to forget. But yeah, we got the 4-wide salute going now. What a great opportunity to see all these cars for tonight, and now a little bit of warm up before the main.
A little bit of warm up, get those pre-race jitters out of their system in preparation for the 35-lap main event. Something we should also document for people that may not be familiar with this type of racing. Caution laps are not going to count. It will be 35 green flag laps that will be run in the main event. So any cautions that come out, those laps aren't going to count towards the main event's lap counter. So there will be at least somewhat ample time for some of the drivers that are going to be starting mid-pack to rear the field to try and make their way up to the front.
Yeah, just looking back at some of the previous races the series has done here, the last 2 versions of this race here at Port Royal, it multiple cautions. We had multiple leaders, so nobody kind of dominating these races at Port Royal. So Hopefully we'll see a little bit. We saw that in the heats, lead changes back and forth. So it hopefully we see some of that action. And then yeah, you mentioned caution laps do not count. So if you're gonna get all 35 opportunities to work on passes and work your way up through the field.
One driver that we haven't really talked about tonight, will be interesting to kind of see what he does this evening. It's going to be the 17 of Lachlan Phillips. The reason I bring his name up is because we already talked about the fact that tonight the championship is going to be awarded to Matt Grimm. He is the defending champion from the 2024 season, but back in 2023 they had a summer series and Lachlan was the champion there. We saw him try to throw it in there a couple of times in the second heat race for the then fourth position to no success, but keep an eye on him. If we're looking for some drivers to maybe topple Matt Grimm from getting a fourth win on a championship season, Lachlan, a former winner on the season, could be one of those drivers. Trent Curtis is the other former winner in the field here as well, and he looked pretty speedy in that good battle for third position between himself and the 81 of Matt Vitafer in that second heat race as well. So there definitely appears to be drivers that have brought the speed. We ended up seeing 3 different drivers win the single car qualifying and the heat races, not named Matt Grimm. So, as you alluded to, Ross, Grimm's got his work cut out for him if he's going to have a bookend season, and all these drivers know it.
Well, and you talked about those winners. I think that a driver that hasn't won this year is our pole sitter, Brandon Weicker. I think that he alluded to the fact that he didn't get much practice. So the idea of going out there with minimal practice and qualifying decent, and then also adapting very quickly in those 10 laps to win his heat race. Yeah, I like his chances, his odds. I think, it's pretty wide open as far as who can win this race tonight.
We talk about the parity of race winners. How about the parity of pole sitters? With Weicker getting the pole position, he now joins both Matt Grimm and Seth Gregory as a 2-time pole sitter on the season. Also Mason Heimbaugh and Johnny Anderson, former pole sitters as well. So 5 different pole sitters in the course of the 8 races run here in the 2025 season. So good parity as well when it comes to qualifying speed, let alone the race result itself.
And we're seeing this warm up right now. Just kind of looking over at lap times. They're not as fast as they were in the heats and qualifying. So obviously the track is changing. It'll be interesting to see. And of course, the track was changing with just a 1 to 2 lap qualifying session and then a 10 lap heat to have a 35 lap race here in the feature. It's going to be fascinating to watch how that, how you adapt to that. And then the ability to adapt for your competitors. We saw where second place was able to move up in the heats and make a pass on the leader before the leader kind of found where that sweet spot was. So I could see a lot of that happening in the main.
And with that being said, I mean, we ended up hearing from Blake Giglio about the fact he was able to get up that half groove before the leader was. Other drivers had to have noticed that as well, whether they were participating in that heat or watching after after they were getting ready to do their second heat. Do we end up seeing a mad scramble for that fresh dirt up at the top of the racetrack in the early going here, or do drivers look for that inside line, try and pull off a couple of slide jobs while everybody's close together, get those positions, then focus on the upper portion of the racetrack as they try to move their way closer for a position here and there?
Yeah, I saw that first heat race. It kind of felt like, they kind of all attacked right away because I think everybody's close together and it's going to take multiple laps to make a move. If you're able to go where the stack up isn't in that first corner, you might be able to gain a spot or two, or at least better position yourself for a lap or two to be able to go get a couple spots because everyone's so close. So I think that's part of this a little bit when you have that first start where everybody's close together, because then you have later restarts where it's single file. It's sometimes tougher to get back up there and be as close on the restarts. So it's your first opportunity to go grab some spots, and I think that many of these drivers will be eager to do that. Otherwise, I think that top is where you want to be. If you can get going and stay up there, I think the middle to top is probably a good place to kind of defend your position for a while and hopefully get to a point where it settles out a little bit, and then you can work on the driver in front of you.
We're going to be moments away from going green, but I believe we actually do have our Heat 2 winner Seth Gregory on standby here for an interview. He's going to be starting up close to the front of the field by benefit of winning that heat race. See if we can get into the mind of the driver of the number 14. Seth, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I kind of feel like we should call Port Royal, Pennsylvania, crossover Pennsylvania, because we ended up seeing about 10 laps of back and forth, slide job, counter slide job between yourself and the race leader. You eventually were able to get him, but how difficult was it to be able to time those moves, and just how tight was it in trying to be able to make sure that you cleared him to eventually get that race lead?
Yeah, I had to try and keep my momentum. This track's really based on momentum. You can put yourself in good spots and carry your speed down the straightaway. You'll set yourself up good for a run, and I had a good run a couple times, and I think I would have got through him or past him a little quicker, but I was dealing with pedal issues. So I just took the time and went through everything, and I believe I fixed all my pedal stuff, and I'm now actually able to go full throttle and use my brake. So, I was never had to use my brake during that run, thank God, but we'll see what we can do starting second.
All right, well, your car looked really good there in the heat race. We'll see if you can make those same moves in the main. Maybe pick up that checkered flag here to close out the season. Best of luck.
Thank you.
So Seth Gregory, as you heard, going to be starting from the second position. Not going to necessarily have the benefit of being able to dive it down into the corner at the initial drop of the green flag unless he's able to find a lane down there before they get to turn number 1. I'll have to try and rip the top, and it will be interesting to see just how high these drivers get, because we were watching them there during that warm-up session. A lot of drivers going right up there against the wall, and the main reason because as that groove continues to work its way up, that fresh dirt, that grip, it goes away, and you got to move further and further perilously close to the Armco barriers. I was kind of noticing here as well, turn 2, that outside wall, it juts out a bit. It moves out about a good 6 to 8 inches, so these drivers have a little bit of space to work with on corner exit. Turn 4, it is just a regular corner, and that front straightaway wall is ready to greet you if you overstep just the least little bit.
We talked about the narrow straightaways. When you have a little bit of room, you're gonna take any extra that you have. But you talk about then the opposite on the other end, that is magnified even more on a track that's somewhat narrow. So yeah, I'm excited to see how these drivers do in this, and the drivers that are on the inside lane, if they're gonna try to sneak up to the top, try to gain some spots right away at the beginning. I think this first lap here is gonna tell us a lot about what we're gonna see in just the first stages of this feature.
Blake Giglio, the winner of heat race number 1, is going to be the pole sitter, and he'll be alongside the driver we just talked to, our second heat race winner, Seth Gregory. Our winner of single car qualifying, Brandon Weicker, is going to line up in the 3rd position. He'll be alongside of the 38 of Vince Guerreri. And then completing the top 5 is going to be the champion of the 2025 season, 3-time winner, looking for 4 to close it out. That would be Matt Grimm. As here we go, 35 green flag laps ready to run in the finale at Port Royal. Right out of the gate, there's no grip on that bottom. Both Weicker and Grimm had their hands full through 1 and 2.
Yeah, pretty much everybody tried to jump to the top, but I've seen now even down on the bottom there, it looks like Weicker is maybe making the bottom at least work for now to be able to hold on to top 3 position. Maybe even a slider for the lead with Gregory. We're going back and forth just like we did in the heat races.
We were almost looking 3 wide with Giglio shooting up the middle, crossing back over Gregory. Here comes Weicker, here comes Guerreri. 4-car battle at the front for the top spot. Here comes Gregory back to the inside.
We saw a little bit of contact on the backstretch. That last lap, you can see that happen when they kind of all, get together coming off the corners. It's fascinating to watch how they go 3 wide through 3 and 4 here for second.
Was a little high there off at turn 2 last time by. I think that was Trent Curtis in the 151. Everybody, though, still pointed the right direction. 3 wide looking for second. Nope, now it's double wide for the second spot. Here comes Guerreri looking for the spot on Giglio as Gregory is cleared for the top spot. Now Giglio clear into second. He dives back to the bottom, slides up in front. He'll take the spot, but here comes Gregory back to the inside line. Nobody seems to be able to get that momentum off the corner. They slide it in, carry the momentum through the center, and then get really loose off the corner and scrub off a lot of miles per hour.
Giglio going to go back down to the bottom, use the slider to take back the lead. They're going to go back and forth. Gregory going to do the same. Just love this action. It's really awesome to see the ability to be able to just swap the lead back and forth.
And look at this, as those top four were battling, guess who's entered into the party? That black and green 91. That's Matt Grimm, now to the 4th position, looking to break his way into the top 3, running high, wide, and handsome through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's probably about as high as we've seen any of these leaders go so far tonight, and it's working for Grimm. He's going to look now down to the inside for 3rd.
On board with the 91, just take a look at this. Look how the front end of the car slides back and forth. You're trying to direct that car, point the nose off the corner. Ooh, maybe a little too high right there. Believe he did make contact with the outside wall, and that's going to bring the 22 of Weicker to his inside for 4th position. Oh, we got a spin! That is Guerreri and Giglio have gone around right in the middle of the pack there. They were battling, I believe, for the 2nd spot at the time. Fortunately, nobody else hit them, but caution going to come out here on lap 10. First caution of the night.
Yeah, and I think just kind of running out of room, maybe both kind of going for the same spot, middle of the track, and they connected, but we'll have to take a look at the replay and see. I think it was battle for maybe 2nd at the time as Gregory was able to get away with the lead.
And only cross over so many times before something may end up going wrong. And unfortunately, that's a lot of track position lost here for these two. Giglio going to make some good contact there with the front end of his race car, that inside wall off the exit at turn 4. Guerreri, I don't believe, hit anything. He was able to get on the brakes before he got up into the outside wall, and tremendous job by everybody else to avoid that as well, because that's 2 cars, one sliding high, one sliding low, and there's about, 8-9 cars behind them. Granted, they're spread out, but there's not a whole lot of room to be able to maneuver your way through there. It's a wonder we didn't have any other drivers involved.
Yeah, Weicker was the kind of the first one through there, and he was just by a couple inches on the bottom lane able to get through that. But both drivers able to go down pit road and fix up their cars. It's just a matter of where their track position is. I mean, it's gone, so it'll be interesting to see how they attack this and get potentially back up to the lead of the pack.
We ended up seeing Giglio win his heat. Guerreri finished 2nd in his heat race, so we know they've got fast race cars, but this is going to be the furthest back they have started in a field. The heat races that they were in were only 6 and 5 cars, respectively, 11 cars here, and they're starting back in 10th and 11th place. So we'll keep an eye on the 16 and the 38, trying to make forward progress once again. Seth Gregory, though, going to be the control car here with Matt Grimm in 2nd, and Weicker in the 22, bringing up the 3rd position.
Be interested to see. It seems like many of these drivers going up to the top, but Weicker here has been running the bottom since lap 1, and it's fascinating to see he's been able to stay up in that top 5 the whole time, but just running the bottom.
Take a look with those 2 drivers in the top 5 running into issues, who's now sprung up into 4th place, the 17 of Lachlan Phillips. A former winner on the season, a former champion of the series back in the summer of 2023. He's trying to look for his 2nd win on the year and trying to break up into the podium there. Almost contact between Gregory and Weicker is going to bring him even closer.
Yeah, now
Contact there! Grimm almost put up into the wall. Caution is going to come out, as I believe there's something in the suspension of that car that broke. Looked like the left front suspension just went down into the ground after that contact. Yellow flag gonna fly.
I imagine Grimm's a little frustrated with that one. I imagine Gregory's hoping that he can slide up in front there, but yeah, he wasn't clear yet. So I think he was hopeful that he was going to be, but wasn't yet. Yeah, gonna get Grim here, and he's gonna have to work on that car.
Yeah, Grim just about as high as you could get through that corner. Was going to have to exit turn 2 up next to the wall, and his lane closed up very quickly when Gregory slid up off of turn 2. Here's another look at it. Yeah, you can just see right there, Gregory's got the wheels turned to the left, but the car just doesn't take. It just starts riding up, and it never gets pointed for the straightaway. That's
Well,
a tough break there. As mentioned, it doesn't take much contact. These cars are a little brittle when it comes to contact.
Yeah, and they do have the ability to fix them up on pit road when the caution comes out, and kind of get a reset and get back going here. So we'll see what. I don't think you can count out Grim at all. Yeah, I think he still have a shot in this race. It'll be fun to watch him try to make his way through the field.
So far, 2 cautions in our main event, and the running tally has been don't be running in second place, because that's where our 2 cautions have taken place. A battle for second brought out the first caution, and then a battle for the lead. The second place car gets put up into the wall, that being Matt Grim. And while it's frustrating for the driver, it's got to be a lot of fun for the fans, because they know that Matt Grim's got a fast race car, and he's very motivated to close out this championship season with another checkered flag, and he's going to have 23 laps to work with to work his way from the back up to the front.
And I'll be interested to see if Weicker here at some point is going to decide to try to run a little bit higher. I think that he's been able to keep his position running the bottom, but not able to gain much. So now this is the closest he's kind of been since the beginning of the race. We'll see if he can do anything with Gregory.
Brandon Weicker, the only driver coming into tonight inside the top 5 in points that did not have a victory. He'd like to change that here, is trying to run that inside line once again. He'll be in a battle for second place. That's with Lachlan Phillips in the 17. Gregory leading up on that top side. Ooh, might have overstepped right there. I think his right rear tire got the Armco barrier. And that's going to bring Weicker to his inside, and he's going to go to the race lead very handily.
Yeah, there's not much room for, when you have to run the top, there's not much room for forgiveness if you miss it. And then we saw Gregory, bringing out that last caution with Grim. You had a car to your outside, no room to slide up. If that car's not there, there's minimal room before the wall. And so we see Weicker has been able to use that bottom lane. It's more opportunity to avoid stuff running that bottom.
Been very dedicated to that inside line, and it has worked out to his benefit. Gregory going to move into second. Third place is going to be Lachlan. No, not going to be Lachlan. Oh, I was going to mention the 16 as we got big hits for both the 16 and the 17. The 17 has flipped up over the wall, and a caution is going to come out. I was just about to mention that Giglio was working his way up through the field, but you saw his left rear get hooked with the right front of Lachlan Phillips. End result, both cars hard into the inside wall, both caught air, and the 17 actually cleared into the infield.
Yeah, Giglio was all the way up to, I think, fourth, maybe even battling for third already. An impressive job by him to be able to get back up there. But yeah, just kind of almost spun off of the corner, and the 17 of Phillips was right to his inside, and they connected, and both went for the spin and the launch, I guess, and for the 17. That was might be another look at it here.
Watch the front wheels, because I think you're exactly right. You see right there, it's like he turned the car to the left to avoid hitting the wall, and unfortunately, the 17 was still coming up. There was still some room that Giglio had off of 4, but unfortunately, they both ended up having the exact same piece of real estate. You saw the end result there, and that's some pretty big shots for both of those drivers. As mentioned, there's no safer barriers here at Port Royal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We saw Giglio was able to drive up through the field very quickly there. That was an amazing job for him to get back in this race. He's going to have to do it again, I guess, if he wants to get back up into the top 3 and battle for this one tonight.
So another loss of track position for the driver of the 16. This is taking a look from the right side of Phillips. Wow.
You feel bad for Phillips. You know, he just kind of running. I think he was going to have plenty of room there for the 16 to be on his outside, and it just kind of wrong place, wrong time to have him slide across your nose there and take him with you. You know, so you know, I don't think you can be too upset about it, but just kind of frustrating to have that moment and lose your track position as well. So. Yeah, we'll see now with Weicker out front how this is going to go. More opportunity for second, third, and fourth to maybe jump to the outside on this restart because we haven't seen the 22 run the top yet. So we'll see if at any point he jumps up there.
Yeah, we'll see if he tries to surge around or if he stays with what's kind of been able to move him forward and eventually get him to this race lead, just running down there on the inside line. Cars not necessarily look steady on corner X. Have been a lot of sliding of the back end of that machine, but he's been able to make it work. And we'll see if he is going to stay committed down to that inside wall. See the 17 back here. It looks like he's going to restart from the ninth position. Will Lackland Phillips. We'll see if he's able to work his way forward. There is the 16 now coming back onto the racetrack as well of Giglio. You also saw the 91 of Matt Grimm back there. Fast race cars going to try and work their way up here as we are more than halfway home. 18 laps completed, 17 to go when they get the green flag here, and it's going to be Weicker getting us back underway.
Yeah, lots of drivers that were maybe mid to the back half of the pack now up in this top five, so we'll see how they are able to run up near the front here.
Yeah, great run there. As mentioned by Brock Elliott, he's kept his nose clean, stayed out of trouble. Started at the back of the pack, but he's been able to methodically work his way now up into the top five, and a good battle here with Guerreri for the fourth position. Ooh, almost contact back there between the 81 of Vitafer and the 17. 17's on a mission there. Phillips trying to get that track position back that he lost, and you know, sometimes it takes a wreck like that to get you all fired up, and that can actually be a benefit to you. It can be motivational, and we're seeing him put that brand new race car to use. He's already up in the top five.
Yeah, able to. We saw many of these drivers that were involved in some of these incidents kind of slowly moving up through the field, but now we got a yellow. The 17 to Phillips, he wasn't slowly moving through the field. He just took control and was able to drive up into the top four there. In that just that short little stint there.
He was going where they weren't for sure and carrying a lot of speed, whether it was on the inside or the outside line. And just like that, after restarting in, I believe it was 8th position on that restart, he's up into the top five. And with how he was looking, I think he could maybe have something to say about this race win. As here's a look what happened to bring out the yellow. Like Giglio going to have some contact there. That was Zach Smith in the 116 getting into him and going around. And you saw right there too, with the suspension exposed as it is on these sprint cars, contact like that can really hurt the suspension. You saw as he entered into the next corner, Giglio just couldn't get the car to turn. Here's another look at it. See the contact right there to the left front fender. And once that happens, the steering is completely gone. It looked like the wheel might have actually been completely broken off of its axle.
And that's going to end the 16's night after a handful of incidents. Just not his night, it seems, and going to call it.
Giglio was one of 3 drivers making their first start of the season here in tonight's finale. Brought a lot of speed. We saw him pick up the win in that heat race. Started up at the front, fell to the back after being involved in a incident and battling for second place, was starting to work his way back forward, got up in the top 5 as high as 4th, got involved in another incident, and will be the first retiree of the evening. We'll get the restart with 13 laps to go, and take a look at here in second position. We saw him in a good battle back in the heat race, the second heat race. He was battling for 3rd position at the time with Matt Grimm for most of that heat. And And that is the 021 of J.D. Myers right now in P2. And I was watching him as well. You look at him, you look at Weicker, you look at Gregory, 3 drivers running 3 entirely different lines on that last restart.
Yeah, and you're running out of time now. You're gonna get down to 14 laps to go here. It's gonna be interesting to see how desperate some of these drivers get.
Green flag back in the air. And here comes DJ Myers, JD Myers rather, to the top side. It's gonna now be a battle for second as Gregory slides underneath him. Here comes Phillips in the 17, contact! Oh, and there we go! Guerreri gonna get wiped out after there was contact between, I believe it was Gregory and Myers. And the 38 is capsized there, entering into turn 1.
There's another one of those moments we'll have to take a look here at the replay where I just think, you want to so badly exit the corner up high and someone's there, he really wasn't for, Myers was, he wasn't to the left rear yet, but kind of just gassed it up, exiting the corner and was able to stick his nose in there. So they just kind of came together at just the worst spot.
Second time we've seen a driver try to get the right rear of Seth Gregory and pay the price for it. Matt Grimm was the other one, and there's obviously some kind of dirt racers etiquette out there, but normally if the car has position on you, then you have to kind of adhere to figuring out where you got to go in relation to where they are, and especially when it's at a track like this, a clay track, slippery on corner exit. You're really running a risk if you're going to try to jump to the outside of somebody on corner exit, but unfortunately we saw the end result there. And again, another innocent bystander. We saw Phillips get caught up as an innocent bystander in the caution a couple of yellows ago, and now you got the 38 who was doing absolutely nothing wrong. Vince Guerreri just running there inside of the top 5, and he ends up getting the biggest hit out of all of it.
Yeah, and I kind of was watching Guerreri there kind of just slowly make his way through, avoid a couple of those last few yellows since he was involved in one of the first ones, and I kind of was thinking he's got a shot here with some speed, so we'll have to see if he's able to get back out there. It looks like JD Myers has called his race to an end after that incident, so yeah, we'll have to see if we see that 38 back on track before we go back green.
J.D. Myers going to join Blake Giglio in the garage area. We're going to be coming to 12 laps remaining when we get the green. Weicker continues to show the way. Gregory holding the second position. Phillips currently in third. And looking back to see where the champion is going to be restarting here. Matt Grimm in that 91. Looks like he's going to be back around the 6th position here for this restart. So he's almost made his way back up into the top 5. Might have something to say about this in the closing stages. But you mentioned it here, Ross. With every one of these restarts, laps are ticking down. Time is running out. Every restart's going to be more aggressive than the previous ones. So these drivers have to be aware of that in where they're going to position their race cars, because we've seen a lot of incidents tonight, and a lot of them have taken place up inside of battling for the top 3, really, right up at the front of the field. So you don't want to be this close, this far at the front, this late in the race, and throw it all away on a mistake.
And Gregory and Phillips kind of been able to get back up there second and third here, so they at least have some experience with what went wrong. We'll see if they can avoid that and try to get Weicker.
Stack up around the 4th position there as the top 3 get away. Woo, look at the run there by Gregory on the top. Weicker still committed to the bottom though, and that gave him the corner exit speed that he needs. Here comes Phillips looking for second place on Gregory.
Slide all the way across, almost getting in the back of Weicker. It's gonna maybe work, gonna at least get him to the outside for second and try to set up for the lead here.
Trying to get the power down off of turn 4, and he'll clear. Look at that corner by the 17 of Phillips. Here comes Weicker back to the bottom, but 17 should have the momentum off of 2. New leader, that's the 17 of Blackland Phillips, looking for his second win on the season. Had to work his way up through the field to get to the point, but he's there. Gregory to second, and Weicker looks around. All of a sudden, he's gone from the lead back to third.
Yeah, it's still sticking with that bottom. I think it's unfortunately, that's where he's made his kind of night, running that bottom and able to get all the way to the lead with it. But now he's sticking with it. It's gonna looks like if we don't get a yellow, it's gonna come down to Phillips and Gregory here.
Had a great battle for fourth. Grimm versus Elliott. Grimm got the better of that. Now he's closing up on Weicker for the third position here with less than 10 to go. Going to be 6 laps as they cross the stripe. And here's your battle potentially for the win. 17 of Phillips versus the 14 of Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory's been a little bit faster, just a couple tenths faster the last few laps. This one here, it looks like he maybe a little too high, lost a little bit of ground to the 17.
Yeah, look at these sparks flying off the right rear of these race cars. They are right up and into that Armco barrier, trying to utilize that to make these corners, hoping it doesn't scrub off momentum, it doesn't tear up equipment. It's a full neighborhood back to Matt Grimm in the third position. We got caution here late. The 81 has gone around along with, I believe that was the 00. That's Elliott and Vitaford that have gone around off the exit of turn 2, and that's going to set us up with a shootout of 4 laps to go.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the replay here and see what happened. I think drivers trying to... We saw so many of them getting together kind of in the back there on that last start. Trying to get it sorted out.
Oh,
Going for the same real estate, it looks like.
the minutest amount of contact there. Vitaford was doing everything he could to stay off of the 00, but unfortunately his right front made contact with the left rear of Brock Elliott. There you see it again. Wow, nice job by Trent Curtis. It's not easy to turn these sprint cars on a dime to avoid an incident, and he just barely was able to slide through.
And it gives you that opportunity to keep some track position if you're able to get around these wrecks. So kudos to him to get that done.
He's on board with the 151. Woohoo! Great miss. And with that, he now moves up, I believe, as well into the 5th position for the upcoming restart. I'll tell you who loved to see this yellow flag fly, and that's the 91 of Matt Grimm, because there was about 15 car lengths that he was going to have to make up in the span of 4 laps to be able to even be in the conversation for this victory. Caution flies, that evaporates. Now he's on the doorstep of the 14 and the 17. He's going to have something to say about this in the closing stages.
Yeah, I think this is going to come down to, can you stay close enough on the start? And then once you're close enough, can you slide up in front of, can the 14 slide up in front of Phillips and the 17? Or will Grimm be close enough to slide up in front of both of them? And then it's just a matter of will that leader, will Phillips, will Gregory, where they're going to go as far as, are they going to try to stay up there and try to, keep them from sliding up, or are they going to cross back over? We've seen it hundreds of times already tonight. It'll be fun to watch here. We'll see if we can get these last couple laps put on a show.
It's going to also be interesting to see if they have any idea what kind of grip is on the bottom when they try and make those moves. All 3, your top 3, were running the top on that last run. Weicker's the only one that really knows what's down there as green flag is out. Looks like they're all, for the most part, going to the top. No, it's going to be Grimm going to the middle groove. Weicker on the bottom. Ooh, someone way out of shape back there. I think that was Vitaford. 2 car lengths now. Phillips over Gregory coming around. And he will look to see the white flag next time by.
And Gregory's going to try to send it here. I think he's got to at least try it. See if he can do a slider.
They will get to the white. Here we go. Half a mile remaining in the season finale. Gregory throws it in. Crossover by Phillips. Here comes Grimm to make it a 3-man fight through 3 and 4. To the bottom goes Phillips. Grimm sends it into the top side. Can't get the runoff. It's going to be Lachlan Phillips capturing his second win of the season. He'll take the finale here tonight in the TRC Nittany Nationals.
Great job by Phillips there to understand. You knew that was coming. You knew that the slide job was going to happen with Gregory. He pulled it off, and Phillips didn't panic. He crossed him back over, got back in his lane, was able to pull away, and then using the bottom lane through 3 and 4 just to make sure a slider didn't happen there. That was just a perfect way to hold him off and ultimately give us a great battle. What an awesome finish there to see all 3 of those drivers coming to the line so close to each other.
And Lachlan Phillips very sneaky with his speed as well. In the qualifiers, we didn't really even mention his name anywhere near the top of the leaderboard. But we saw him work his way up through the field, up to the top 5, was involved in that incident, worked his way back up to the front yet again. He brought the race pace when it mattered the most, and he is going to now be only the second repeat winner to close out the season, only to the champion, Matt Grimm. So job well done for the former champion of this series from 2023. See him in victory lane here at the Speed Palace, Port Royal Speedway. Gregory, make that Grimm gonna take home the championship as he brought it home in the second position, and Gregory brought it home in third place. Those were the 3 drivers in the conversation for this thing in the closing stages. I believe we have our top 3 on standby, and we're going to go down to victory lane. Lachlan Phillips, as the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting room. You got us? Man, I'll tell you what. You had to wheel that thing. When you got put back in traffic, we saw you cut through the field up to the top 5. You eventually were then able to get the race lead, but man, you had a lot of choices you had to make of which lane did you want to cover in those closing stages. How difficult was it? Would you have rather be the car that was gunning for the top spot, or were you comfortable being the car that had to play defense?
Yeah, hard question, but I think I did all right doing defense. It's a bit hard to know where the car's going to go. If you're second, if he's going to go high or low, you're not sure where he's going to go. So it's probably better being the leader. At least I can choose where I want to go and try and hold that line. And just played defense that last lap, so I could hear someone behind me. So yeah.
Yeah, we were watching you cut your way up through the field after you were caught up in that unfortunate incident that lost you all your track position. Kind of visibly, you can kind of tell what's going through a driver's head. Looked like you were pretty motivated to get that track position back there on that run.
Yeah, I think I was third, and then yeah, don't know what happened in the end, but yeah, I was just motivated. I know this is probably my second favorite track on this iRacing service, so I knew I could do it if I just put my head down, bum up, and went at it. So yeah.
We talked about the fact you being a former champion of the series back in 2023. You're going to end out the 2025 season as a 2-time winner. I mean, coming into tonight, what was the motivation like to end out the season with yet another checkered flag?
The motivation was just to finish and win. So I've had a bit of a rough season. A lot of DNFs, a lot of finishing outside the top 3. So I've only gotten, I think, 1 win, so this is my second win, so yeah, not too bad.
Well, you had to pass a lot of cars here tonight on the initial start, and then when you got put back there in traffic, you were able to get yourself to the lead, hold the lead, and ultimately take the checkered flag here tonight at Port Royal Speedway. Congratulations, Lachlan, on the victory. Before we let you go, my friend, the floor is yours to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for coming on and broadcasting last minute. Trent does a good job here with this league, puts in a lot of effort week in, week out, and I wish we can get more numbers, but yeah, just what we got is pretty good at the moment, so just like to thank him and Matt for putting it on, and well done to the podium places, Matt and Seth, and just like to thank all my guys at Evolution Sim Sports, ABR Setup Shop, Harman Designs, Catalyst Computers, JJC Racewear, Kid Kings, and Premium Cinematography.
It's Lachlan Phillips. He is your race winner here this evening in the season finale at Port Royal Speedway. Congratulations on the job well done. It was a lot of fun watching you work your way up there to the front. Enjoy this victory.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Marks the second win on the season for Lachlan Phillips. More than likely is going to have him ending out the season second in overall points. He was only 7 points behind Gavin Chatham, who did not start here this evening. Let's leapfrog second place and get third place here. We'll talk with the champ eventually here. Let's see if we can dial up for the second time tonight. He ended up winning a heat race earlier on this evening. Started on the front row subsequently. Brings it home on the podium. Seth Gregory, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth once again. You got us?
Yes, I do.
All right, so you had that experience of what it was going to take to get yourself to the race lead and stay in the race lead, and you put a lot of that to work here tonight. A lot of battling at the front in that three-way battle in the closing stages. What more could you have done? Because, man, you seem to be like the master of the slide job here tonight. Just couldn't quite seem to be able to keep and maintain that track position in the closing stages.
Yeah, I kind of put my wing back, and I felt really good, and just I kept making mistakes, and mistakes around this place cost you so much time. And seeing the leader, he's kind of bobbled off of 4 or off of 2. And I knew I had to try and put myself in a good spot for the last lap, and I decided not to slot him and try and build momentum. It just didn't really work out as I was hoping. I didn't really have a good enough exit off of 4, and this track's really hard to throw sliders. And I don't think if I would have thrown the slider in 3 and 4, I don't think it would have worked. But I didn't want it to, and it didn't work. And then I got in the fence and then drove down the track. But no, I think it was a good race, and I think everyone did really good.
Yeah, we're looking here at your statistics for the night. You never fell out of the top 3 the entirety of this 35 green flag lap main event. You talked about the exit off the corner, and it seemed like that was where a lot of drivers were struggling, whether they were on the bottom, middle, or the top side. What was the thing you kind of needed to be able to get the car pointed to get that corner exit, or was there really at the end of the night, with all the grooves pretty much already rubbered in, there was no option of being able to really get the rear end of the car planted for corner exit?
Most of that was honestly all on entry. I was kind of experimenting with that, and I kind of entered a little lower, a little higher. I put in the marbles, and it just seemed like I would hit the bump up in 1 and 2, and it just got you really tight, and you'd put it in the fence. So I kind of ran the middle line, tried to catch the grip there in the middle of the corner and through 1 and 2, and you just kind of slid up to the marbles, hoping it was sticking, and that's kind of what I did all night.
Well, your second top 5 of the season, tying your best finish of the season at 3rd place. Congratulations on a job well done, keeping that thing consistently up at the front the entirety of the night. Seth, before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, I gotta thank Sean English. We kind of came up with the deal during Pro Series. He kind of gave me a set and was like, "Here, you can if you can run top 5 during one of your qualifiers, you can be on the team." So I went out there, won 3 races in a row in qualifiers, and then went out to win another one at Adora, and then ran Pro Series and made the A. And I gotta thank Florida Shocks, TCR, everyone who kind of helps me.
Well, that's Seth Gregory. He's your 3rd place finisher here tonight and a nail-biter closer at Port Royal Speedway. Congratulations on the great run here tonight, finishing top 10 in overall points here for the season as well, so well done.
Thank you.
And we will now see if we can get a hold of our 2nd place finisher. He is the 2025 TCR Nittany Nationals champion, Matt Grimm. Matt's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, back-to-back champion, that's got to sound pretty good. Dominating season, 3 trips to victory lane. Tonight going to mark your 8th top 5 finish in the 8 races this season. You have been Mr. Consistency, and you almost were able to get a 4th victory and have back-to-back wins to start and close out the season. So close to it, what little more did you need?
Oh, I just needed to, stay out front when I got up there the first time, and then ended up in the back, kind of stuck for a while, and then, yeah, Trent got into some kind of wreck up there, and he was stopped in front of me, so then I ended up running through him and had to start all over again. But it is what it is. You can't be mad about second, but man, I really wanted 2 big checks to hang on my wall.
Yeah, and you talk about having to work your way from the back up to the front, and something that Ross and I were talking about pre-race was what we observed in the heat races, was you had to be methodical and you had to be patient. But when you're back there and you're halfway through the race, you can't hang around and be patient. How were you able to time your moves, be able to make sure that you got up there to the front in the conversation for this victory, but not tear up the race car at the same time?
Yeah, like you said, it takes patience, but luckily I got a lot of laps here, and this is one of my favorite places to run. I love running the top here, and somehow I'm able to make it work. And yeah, it just took a little longer than I guess what I needed it to, but we gave it a valiant effort. And yeah, like I said, you can't be too upset about second. And congrats to Lockie. I'm glad he's the one that got the big check.
Yeah, great season for you here, Matt. 3 victories on the season, 2 pole positions as well. Came into this race with the championship already locked up. Job well done, not only tonight, but overall this season as well. We'll let you get to celebrating your championship here in just a moment, but we're now going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Yeah, just thanks to Trent for everything he does and all the money I've gotten to take from him over the years, and Matt for helping him out. And I mean, I wish more people would come run this, because it's actually a really good league, and I love having TCR to come run on Tuesdays, and if there's a TCR, I'll be here. So, but thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. I'm glad we at least got to put on a show. Them heat races were pretty good.
Yes, they were. The heat races were good. The main event was good. Hey, even the speeds were close in single car qualifying. So we started out the evening on an exciting note. But Matt, congratulations on the 2nd place finish here for the finale, taking home the championship, back-to-back champion here in the TCR Nittany Nationals. Go and enjoy this championship, and hey, maybe 2026 we'll be talking about you as a 3-time champion here in the series.
Let's hope so. Thanks, guys.
That's Matt Grimm. He is your 2025 champion as he brings it home in the 2nd position here tonight. And that's going to close out our coverage here this evening from Port Royal Speedway. Ross, I mean, we knew that it was going to be a nail-biter here this evening. We saw those single-car qualifying speeds. I think it was, 28 hundredths of a second separating all 11 cars, and then throw a blanket over your top 3 here in those final 2 to 3 laps with Phillips, Grimm, and Gregory. 2 of those drivers had to work their way back up through the field. Phillips and Grimm ended up getting caught up in incidents. We're outside of the top 5. It's second half of this race and had to fight their way back up there. Gregory, a mainstay, and how about Brandon Weicker holding on to that 4th position there as well. He was the only one really committed to the bottom. Vince Guerreri there in 5th. I mean, you look at about, half dozen of these drivers that finished up inside of the top 6, top 7. They had to mount some comebacks.
Yeah, for sure. We talked a little bit about the survival of this, and part of it was just as long as you were able to drive it back to pit road, get her fixed up, you could get back in line and restart just tail end of the field and drive back up there. So yeah, for a lot of these drivers to be able to, that was part of the show tonight, which I think was awesome. And as much as maybe they, we heard a little bit in their interviews, the hope for more drivers in the field would have been great to have, but I think that was part of the great action, was the ability to pass and make their way up through the field, because it was a little bit of a smaller field than some of the other races. So yeah, it looks like Trent Curtis was 6th, Zach Smith 7th, Matt Vitafer in 8th, Brock Elliott in 9th, and then a few of our drivers 10th on back. I guess it was JD Myers who called it at the end with 12 laps left, and Blake Giglio was our 11th place finisher.
So Lukeland Phillips going to bring home the victory here tonight. Second win of the season for him. Matt Grimm going to capture his second championship as he goes back-to-back here in the TCR Nittany Nationals. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage here tonight in the season finale here from Port Royal Speedway. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. Congratulations once again to Matt Grimm on capturing the championship here in the 2025 TCR Nittany Nationals. For Jeff Johnson, our producer, for Ross Brockman, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night on Split Second Broadcasting.